as we get started. So, okay, so stress and three common stress responses that we experience as we go through life. I want to give you a little bit of background on me and why I am qualified to, I guess, talk on stress here. So I spent nearly 20 years in the alternative healthcare field. I've been a licensed massage therapist for that entire time, as well as an esthetician for about the last 10 years. I am also a cancer and domestic violence survivor, and personally have understood a lot of transition in my life that creates that stress and those challenges, both as daily stress occur and long-term stress can go through from relationships and different types of things. So one of my absolute passions is in providing support and encouragement, and to think outside the box in regards to your own growth and what stress looks like and how you can help manage all of that through tough times, and has become a cornerstone of my business, which is Sacred Space Therapeutics, located in Colorado Springs. So what is stress? Let's talk about it. What does stress mean? Is it too busy because it can't get everything done? Do you have an endless list of things to get done? Is it overwhelm? Is it a state of relationships and emotional burnout? What's that feeling that you get when you're thinking about the day in and day out tasks that you end up needing to do, wanting to do, that you put on your list or to get through? Is that overwhelm? Are you anxious? Do you feel fear? Is there paralysis? All of those are a portion of that stress response and is a reaction to the pressures that the world puts on us, that we put on ourselves, or that people in our relationships and close to us put on us as well. So we've all experienced stress at some point, and we know what this feeling is when it creeps up. So I want you to think about those feelings as we go along here. Our world is a stressful place to live in, and there's more and more research being done on the impacts that stress can have as we move through life. So what is that future impact of stress? Research is showing now that it's a national mental health crisis on the way. Recent studies from the American Psychological Association set out to explore current levels and the impacts of stress just in the US. So through their findings in the last year, they recognize that we are facing this mental health crisis and could yield serious health and social consequences for years to come. So they also reported, when considering the physical and emotional toll of increased stress, nearly half of adults, 49.3% of their report, said that their behavior has been negatively affected. Specifically, most commonly, they report increased tension in their bodies at 21%, snapping or getting angry very quickly at 20%, and unexpected mood swings at another 20%, or screaming or yelling at loved ones or children at 17%. Those are huge percentage of numbers for people that are experiencing stress. And to me, I don't know about you, but that seems rather alarming, that those negative impacts can come through with how stress affects our behavior. And even more reason for us to get a handle on and understand what stress is and how we respond to it. So let's get into these three common stress responses. The first one is understanding how your body responds to your stress. So how does your body respond? When I asked earlier about what stress feels like for you, that's really getting in. Most of us are going to feel that common stress experience go to a body response. So in your body, you could experience from stress headaches, stomach pain, for example, feeling like you have a knot or butterflies in your stomach. This could also translate into like stomach cramping or digestive issues as well. You have trouble sleeping, you feel rushed, overstretched in your life, or pressured on a regular basis. Feeling as though you never have enough time, be tension in your back or your neck, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, and just an overall restlessness within that. Our second common response to stress is in your mind. In your mind, you might be experiencing constant worry, muddled thinking or brain fog, regular brain fog. Impaired judgments can come in as nightmares or bad dreams, inability to make decisions, hasty decisions, negative thinking, thinking that everything is always going to go wrong. You might replay experiences or conversations, have panic attacks, kind of translates from body and mind working together in panic attacks, as well as depression, anxiety, and an inability to sleep. Our common stress response number 3 is, how does your spirit respond to stress? This is, body, mind, and spirit side of things that we're looking at. And when you consider how your spirit might experience stress, sometimes this comes into long-term stressors, and that create a loss of confidence, low energy, maybe dissatisfaction with your everyday life, apathy, a lack of motivation, thoughts of self-harm or suicide, expressions of anger or shame, impulsiveness, out of control behaviors, and even up to addictions is all a stress response on the spirit. Now, within all of that, we have 3 different levels that can occur. And sometimes within those 3 different levels, I really want to highlight that sometimes stress isn't always a bad thing. Our normal stress response and what our bodies are made in order to be able to do is have stress in order to, run from a predator, or, to handle saving our own lives with things. That's a positive stress response. And within that, that's a normal, essential part of your healthy development. It keeps you safe. It works with your limbic system in order to provide safety and security in life. Now, tolerable levels get into this next piece to it, and it's a response to a more serious stressor that's limited in duration. So this could be an illness like catching the flu. That's a stressor. It could be a big project at work. It could be some emails, or having a conflict with somebody. Ultimately, that tolerable level means that there's a time frame to it that will end up changing. Once you get into a toxic level, and that next one, these are strong, frequent, and prolonged adversity. So you think of different abuse or domestic violence or different things going on like that, or long-term being at a job that isn't serving you. There's many different pieces that can become a toxic situation for stress. And ultimately, toxic is usually where we end up seeing chronic illnesses come into place, mystery illnesses come into play, and different kinds of things like that when the body has finally taken its toll on those levels of stress. So symptoms of a positive stress response in this one that we're talking about, that short term, it's an increase in the heart rate, mild elevations in stress hormone levels, minor daily experiences, and can rise up. You'll feel them for usually about an hour, maybe a couple of hours during that day, and then should come right back down to where you can re-regulate yourself onto a normal level. Now, tolerable levels are, like I said, usually buffered by supportive relationships. There's a time frame involved in that. And same thing can come in with illness, death in the family, kids leaving home, those kinds of pieces. And usually experienced a little bit more lost my train of thought there. A little bit more help or assistance from relationships or even therapists and that kind of things, or good friends that you can talk to about it. And then our toxic level is that prolonged activation of the stress response. It's where all of those things in that positive experience, elevated heart rate, anxiety, those kinds of things just aren't going away. They're going to stay there because your body is just reset itself into a position of that fight or flight, and creates a much more detailed healing process. So what is the next step? What do we do about it? Stress. Do we create a new normal? That's what a lot of the research is saying, is that we're getting used to this new normal of stress. Or do we reach out? Do we look at different mechanisms and help in order to move forward? In that, common coping mechanisms that we have that most people see going through stress is avoidance. So that first one is in there. Many people enjoy maybe a glass of wine after work. They attempt to wind down, might relax after a long day, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with any of that until it might come into being a normal thing. And if you're using different pieces in order to avoid dealing with those stressors in your life. Apathy is the next one, and that's dissociation into maybe your phone, social media, sleeping can become an apathy side of things. It creates an alternate reality that takes the mind out of the present moment, and really to avoid those current circumstances that you're going through. This complete disengagement. The third one is definitely control, and control is usually where we're seeing this new normal kind of come in, where people are lashing out, they're responding with harsh words and snapping, so to speak. It's because we have a loss of control in our circumstances, and we're trying to regain those in the places that we can, and can leave you to harming those around you, and doesn't allow for a whole lot of room for change. So normal coping mechanisms that we have. So stress can also manifest in indirect ways, as everyone needs a way to cope with their stress, and especially those that are under high levels of stress and feel like they need to seek out intense forms of relief. So those can be therapy, they can be alternative health, stress reducers, getting massage therapy, different types of pieces, and different things that they can do in the meantime. Biggest part is to think about what you can do in small blocks to reduce your stress. So if you're stressed out for one day, what can I do for 10 minutes that may make me feel a little bit better, rather than I need to take an entire weekend off or anything like that. Question in here about what's your thoughts on boxing or aggressive releases of stress. Everybody's different. And just kind of like my quote said, is we don't need more shame in the midst of struggle. For being human here, that's exactly it. So if boxing or an aggressive release is a piece that helps you reduce stress, then that definitely helps. So there is a borderline piece on an unhealthy coping mechanism in there too, though, that sometimes, depending on what it is, can be considered self-harm. So as well. And a lot of us may do this, especially as women, we might jump in. I know I've been guilty of this in my past. Feels really, really good to jump in and take like the hottest shower that I could possibly take, and makes, it feel like it's absolutely scalding water, but feels the best. That's actually a unhealthy self-harm coping mechanism that's actually helping to re-regulate our nervous system due to stress, and which can be kind of interesting. So I would just say watch some of the aggressive releases and make sure that you're not hurting yourself in the process of that. So in this side of it, so since we live in this busy, fast-paced world, what are some other ideas that we can do in order to help reduce these stress levels? So there's lifestyle changes, lifestyle alterations, change in perspectives, self-care, find joy and play. If we can get back to playing like kids, makes a big difference. And then, and then prioritize yourself with everything that you do as much as we can. And prioritizing yourself, your mental health, and all of that will definitely come with being able to create boundaries as well. And so boundaries are huge with all of it. And one piece that I really, really enjoy as far as prioritizing myself and finding joy specifically in self-care is using the oils from doTERRA. This has been huge for me because there are specific oils that actually help not only just reduce your stress levels, but they can also have very, very lasting effects of change on your emotions as well. And so these oils that I love is lavender, bergamot, sandalwood, ylang ylang, and vetiver. The next piece to that is these serenity capsules. I've really been excited that doTERRA actually put these serenity capsules together because they're huge as far as being able to use those. I sleep so much better after using those ones at night. There's also a big piece of it is actual sleep with everything. The more sleep that you can get, the better your nervous system will actually be able to help cope with stress, re-regulate itself, heal overnight, have the body adjust to it. So even if that's all you can do is to help yourself get some more sleep, that is doing enough for the time being in the moment, especially if you have long-term stress. In the chat here, I'm going to put our eBook from doTERRA. If you guys would like to click on that one, it's actually about how essential oils and sleep can actually make a huge difference for you. And it's a ton of really great resources and a lot of specifics as far as what oils really, really help, not only for sleep, but for that stress reduction as well. The other side of it that I really appreciate looking at is reframing your thought process. And in order to do this, sometimes it's going to accompany some of the oils that we use. I like to go through reframing my thought process actually with the bergamot oil, and just smelling that one or having it diffused in the background and going through rewriting internal scripts and journaling, and really think about, especially if I get into a situation of an all or nothing thinking, which in very black and white thinking of it has to be this or it has to be that. I start brainstorming or really retraining my brain into thinking and asking and getting curious those questions of, if it's not that, what's the gray area? If it's not that, what can it be? And seeing outside those pieces and opening that up can be a huge source of compassion, not only for myself, but maybe for the other people that I'm working with, and can bring about a lot of solutions to working with problems and stressors in my life that I might not otherwise have found or gotten to on my own. And of course, with beyond that, go ahead and always seek assistance. Connect with a therapist, schedule your self-care, whether that's scheduling a massage, getting in, prioritizing yourself with all of that, and see if you, and break up those toxic cycles of stress that make your symptoms worse. Make a difference in your life. Put it on the calendar. If it's on the calendar and you have an appointment, we're more likely to be able to maintain those appointments and to go to them. Even if it's a small thing, like I'm going to walk around the block, still put it on your calendar, and to have that come up and say, I need to do this. This is my appointment with me for this time. Another side of scheduling self-care can be time with friends. It can be a time for meditation. It can be a time to very specifically read a book or something like that, that can help out as well. So thank you guys for coming. Next week, Meredith is going to speak on anyway, Meredith's going to speak next week, and I love her class. So you guys are just going to have to be here for that one. With all of it. So anything else? She's got an inflammatory response focus for next week. I know it's all in the notes, but I should probably mention that. So if you guys have questions or want to seek any specifics on stress relief or anything like that, my contact information is here with Sacred Space Therapeutics. And I appreciate you guys chiming in today and checking this out. And I think we'll go ahead and stop the recording, and then